Okay, everybody, here's another little installment on me building my dune buggy. Now, I know I'm going to catch a lot of hell from the guys out there who have built a lot of dune buggies. I just want to say I've never done it before. It's just something I wanted to try, and I think it's turning out pretty good. We're going to have to... I wanted to show you how we're going to do this lift kit in the front end. I've seen it done a bunch of times. Okay, on a Volkswagen spindle, you got the spindle here that the hub mounts onto. What you want to do is cut that off. You end up with this. Just get rid of that. You don't need it no more. It's kind of windy out here today. I hope it's not screwing up the microphone. Take a flat piece of steel. This is 1/2 inch steel. A lot of people use 3/4, but I believe the 1/2 inch will work pretty good. I wouldn't go any smaller than a 1/2 inch. And what we're going to do is we're going to weld that plate onto where the spindle got cut off. And since my rear end is a Chevrolet bolt pattern, I got this rear wheel bearing off that same Oldsmobile donor car. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mount it to the plate and then weld it on here. And what that'll do is that'll give me a 5-inch lift, plus it will give me the same bolt pattern front and rear, and it'll make it real easy to change wheel bearings and whatnot. I can just run to the junkyard and for $10, $5, whatever, I can replace that wheel bearing. And I'd like to thank my cousin James, who happens to work in a machine shop. I made him a pattern, and a week later he brought me 2 of these. Okay, guys, the welding is done pretty much. I don't know if you can see it. It might be too bright out here. I didn't really clean any of the weld up because I really don't care what it looks like. I just don't want it to fall off. Now, I made 3 passes for welder, and I believe it'll stay on there pretty good. And what I'm going to do is take this wheel bearing with my bolts. I'm using grade 8 bolts. Grade 8 bolts. And they're fairly expensive for 8 bolts and 8 nuts and all the washers and whatnot. Uh-oh, there's a problem. Okay, I'll have to buy a shorter bolt for that, which is alright. That won't be no big deal. Anyways, I'm using grade 8 washers, lock washers, and the nuts so that they'll all be strong. What we got here, you got a washer, you got a lock washer, then you got the nut, and I'm going to tighten all this up, show you what it's going to look like. So there it is, all tightened up. Wheel bearing, 5-inch lift. It's 5 inches higher than it was. All except for my one short bolt I'm going to have to get. But that's alright. You get the idea. There it is with the 5-inch lift. There it is. 5-inch lift. Homemade 5-inch lift. For the front of a Volkswagen. I had a little problem with I had to turn the wheel around backwards because the way it dished in, I was hitting the steering arm here which won't be no big deal. I'll check around the junkyard and see if I can find me a wheel that doesn't dish in that far. Or I could run a wheel backwards like this. Of course, that's not the tire I'm going to use. Probably not the wheel I'm going to use either. Of course, I got to do the other side now, but it lifted the front end up pretty good, and I believe it's going to be pretty strong. Now, once again, I am not a professional welder. This is the first buggy I've built. I'm not really trying to tell you how to build a buggy, but I don't want you guys to be afraid to try to do something. If you got an idea, try it.